Okay, we are live.
Hello.
Check 1 2, check 1 2, testing, testing. And I'm going to move this so that you can see the live chat.
Oh yeah.
But hello, everyone. Uh, okay. All right. So please hit the like button. It helps fuel the algorithm. We will be answering any questions in the chat. The setup is a bit different here and cramped, so bear with us on some things. But like I said, let us know of any questions that you have in the chat, and we will try and get to all of them tonight. I wanted to do a live stream with my beautiful wife, Paulina, after Valentine's Day. I thought it was kind of a good time to do it. And I talk a lot about marriage on this channel and how theories of everything or fundamental theories can impact our lives and help us in a kind of more social sense, and how that's kind of the focus of my intentions, I guess. So with this work, and that's what I wanted to talk about tonight. So please hit the like button. It helps fuel the algorithm. And like I said, comment any questions that you have. We're going to talk about all kinds of things. And if we don't want to answer your question, we're just going to say pass. So there's that. But we have a list, and we'll kind of just go through it and, I guess go through the list. But I hope you all had a good Valentine's Day. We did not do that much, but I got her flowers. And I'm not a Valentine's Day fan. I think that it is pretty much like invented by florists to make money or something. But I once didn't do anything out of protest, and she was not very happy about it. So since then, I at least get flowers, and we watched a romantic comedy, and probably go to dinner this weekend or something. But
Yeah, that should be nice.
yeah, it's definitely a girls' holiday. It's a women's holiday. It's not a men's holiday. It's funny, just to like illustrate how much it's a women's holiday. I went to the florist, and I have this one florist that I go to. He's basically just my flower guy. And he's got a bunch of cards there, and there was all these cards on the wall to pick from for Valentine's Day, and there was all these cards that can keep, every single one was like, to my loving husband, or to my husband. And I was like, why are all of these saying to my husband? It's because all the ones to my wife got bought, and I showed up like
By the time you got
by
there.
the time I got there was none left. So it was definitely it's definitely it's women's holiday. So, but that doesn't mean it's completely useless or anything like that. It just means that it's just bear that in mind, I guess. I don't know. But it is nice. It gives you an excuse to be nice to each other, and that is not that we need an excuse to be nice to each other. We should just do things for each other. But it is nice to have a reminder. And I will admit that Valentine's Day is at least that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
do you have any thoughts on Valentine's Day
Um
that I didn't say?
No, I think you covered everything.
Okay, fair enough. So we're going to talk tonight about our story a little bit. We're going to talk about marriage in general, and we are going to talk about love, because this is something that's very important, and it's necessary to understanding fundamental reality. understanding what love is. And I think that we in this society today, and I've talked about it a lot on this channel, do not understand what love is. It's and there's a reason for that, and we'll get into it. But what's up, Ethan?
Hey.
Yeah.
And yeah, at any point, just leave a question for us in the chat, and we'll get to it if we have the time or if we want to answer it.
Yeah. If we skip over your question, then and you've asked it twice, then it means that we don't want to answer. But we'll probably answer pretty much all the questions tonight. So, I guess, how long have we been dating?
It'll be 8 years this summer.
Okay. Yeah. So we met on Tinder. So it does happen. Success happens on Tinder. And you were almost like the first, probably like the third person I went on a date with from Tinder. And that was like, and I think you were the only one that I like saw more than once. So it definitely, I don't want to say lucky because I don't believe in luck, but it was definitely, it seems like I lucked out. But yeah, do you want to talk about how we met a little bit?
Well, you kind of skipped the whole profile part.
Okay. Yeah, well, I was leaving that to you.
Oh, okay. So, you messaged me. So, I'm a photographer, and I had photos in my profile on Tinder with like me holding my DSLR at the time. And you messaged me. What did you send me? You were like,
oh, she had a Canon camera.
Yeah.
And I was a Nikon shooter, and that's like a rivalry in photography. So I was like, oh, you're a Canon shooter. I don't know how this is gonna work if you're a Canon shooter. And that was like the first thing I said was a joke.
And I was like, this is cool. Like, I was just super into that because it meant that you were as nerdy about photography as I was.
Yeah.
And am still. So
it wasn't the typical hey that I feel like probably women get. I don't know what it's like on Tinder anymore.
Yeah, honestly, it's been almost 10 years for me. So yeah, it's been a long time since I've had a dating app.
I don't know what it's like anymore, but it definitely seems like there's a lot of people who are struggling with dating. And so if you are one of these people and you want to ask for any advice, I'm not saying that I'm the expert, but success. But we can try and answer anything. I think that this is I talk about here on that the creation of the meaning of creation is the creation of meaning, and that like meaning. I recently did an interview that will be put up on my channel next week, but we talked about meaning, and that meaning is something that all of us want, and it is when we impact another, and we kind of all know this because we have like an existential crisis when you don't recognize that you and your actions are transcending your own existence. And so one of the most, notable ways of doing that is obviously to have a committed relationship. And I do recognize that that's kind of getting very difficult. And I think that's because we are losing any sense of like what should be people's expectations are in dating. Would you say that that's the case? Like, do you think that people have, I don't know, like a less defined set of expectations as far as relationships go?
Yeah. So I know when you asked me to be your girlfriend all those years ago, I told you, well, I asked you like what that meant to you.
Yeah. She turned me down. She told me no. She told me no. And I
said, what did I said I needed.
Yeah, you were not
sure. I
wasn't
sure. I needed more time or something.
Yeah. So yeah, she turned me down. What's up, Kurt? So yeah, I was turned down, and but I was persistent, and it worked. Yeah, she was definitely the first girl in my life that consistently laid out like expectations for me, and before she had agreed to like date me, and I'm not even saying that we did things properly. I tend to be like agree with very traditional morals as far as dating, even though I didn't follow them because I didn't believe in them at the time. So like that was, I wasn't a theist. She was, and we're going to talk about that a little bit tonight because that was like that was why we probably took so long to get married, was like me figuring that out. It wasn't because I didn't know who, you know.
Oh, we didn't tell them when we got married.
Oh yeah, we got married in
2021.
2021 on July 14th. So,
Good job.
yeah, I know it's 7/14/21, which is cool.
Yeah.
And but we got married on a Wednesday, which I don't know if that has anything to do with weddings, but it was just cheaper.
I think it
so
did. No, that's not why we got married on a Wednesday.
It was part of the reason why we got married.
But the real reason was that was the day we met. That was
Oh,
the
yeah,
day of our
that's true. I
first
forgot.
date. 7/14,
Okay.
2015 was our first date.
Yep.
And so we were able to get married on that same day, and it was just a cool day. And yeah.
Yeah, I forgot that was the reason.
Yeah,
I
know.
I
It's
should
been 2
know
years.
that. Yeah, I definitely should know that. But so I guess I got a little bit lost. But you want to talk about our first date, and then we'll get into like the whole expectations thing, or like I guess I have come up with 4 criteria. I will just say this, okay? To leading into our first date. I have come up with 4 criteria that I think are basically they come from the 4 primary perspectives of sentient singularity theory, which are inside, outside, separate, and oneness, and how that is these 4 dimensions of maneuvering or of perspectives allow us to orient within a system. So I figured that there were 4 essential aspects of choosing a spouse, and those would be that you're able to be your true self around the person. You're able to be relaxed and true self. I think that's very important. Otherwise, being in the relationship won't give you energy. It takes energy.
Yeah, that's true.
And then you have to have aligned goals, and which leads to basically aligned values. That doesn't mean they have to be the same, but it means they can't be contradictory, I guess. And then that you have to find each other attractive, like mentally and physically. I think that that's important. And there was one more that I'm just missing because I'm a bit like lost right now. But hold on, I'm going to just pull it up because I have it.
In the meantime, if you have any questions you want us to answer, leave them in the chat. Yeah, just putting that out there.
Yep. Okay, 4 criteria for a spouse. Okay. The last one is you have to be good at solving problems together. And this is a huge deal. I'm glad I looked it up and didn't just like blow it off. But it's any problem, because this person you're going to be your partner if you're going to date intentionally. And I think that dating intentionally is the way to have a meaningful romantic life. You can't actually feel any sense of meaning from dating without intentionality. And before she agreed to continue to be more serious with me, I guess. Mm-hmm. And like I said, we don't have, in the secular world, which we were basically in, we don't have the same outline that is logical outline that they have in like Orthodox communities when it comes to like marriage and dating. It's very vague, and but even though ours was much less vague than most people, I think because of you, which is good, but it still was kind of vague. But yeah, you have to be able to solve problems with each other if you want this to last, and that will translate to everything. Like we've had to solve so many crazy problems with each other. Maybe we'll talk about some tonight, but in everything, guys, your life is problem that you have to solve almost. But it's not that life is the problem, but like life is a series of continuous problems that you have to solve, and that is a good thing. That's not a bad thing. And I'm not trying to say like life is suffering and that's it, but it's it's like a game, and you know you have to have a good like partner in playing
Mm-hmm.
the game. But so our I will say this too is that it doesn't take long to like know whether or not you care about the person, I would say.
Yeah.
I called my brother on the way home from our first date and said, this is going to sound weird, but I think I'm going to marry that girl. And the reason was because when we were talking to each other, first of all, we were there, we were the last couple there. We were just talking
At the
like all at the
restaurant.
restaurant all night.
Yeah.
And then uh I noticed like all these symmetries between us, and I talk about symmetry a lot on here, and how the search for truth is basically the search for symmetries, and the search for beauty is the search for symmetries. And I just noticed all these weird symmetries, you know, obviously like I'm a man, she's a woman, and she is the oldest of, you know, uh, of
Four.
four. I'm basically like in the same spot in my family. My family has reverse the genders of our siblings as hers, but so there was like lots of things that were the same yet like the mirror opposite. I'm very pale. She's not as pale. Like there was just so many things about. I'm a fighter. She is a dancer. Like they're the same thing actually. Dancing and fighting are the same moves. They're just different in their intentions. So there's all kinds of things that I just noticed, and it was just odd. Like I there to quote like the cheesy movie there. I forgot which movie it was. I think it was Hitch, and he's like, "True love is your soul's counter recognition of its counterpoint in another." I think, and I don't like the term true love, but I definitely recognize that in you, I would say. Like,
Oh,
yeah.
so,
So it's
yeah. No, I
we're
agree.
mirrors of each other.
Yeah,
But
I agree.
so like what would you, when you're talking about like love, what do you think about like when people get wrong about love today? And what is love? You want me to answer, give mine, or do you want to talk about it? Do you have any thoughts about it? Do you have anything you want to share about our the beginning of our relationship you
Um,
think is important, or do you want to talk about painting?
yeah, I mean,
That's probably a good
so
thing.
at the time I had just moved into a new place and I wanted to paint my room because the walls were like this really dark taupe and I just love
I don't
a
even know what taupe is.
it's like dark beige.
Okay.
Um and I just really wanted a clean, like bright space. It was a really small space, so white just helps to make it feel like a bigger space. And it's kind of like a blank canvas. And you offered to help me paint my room.
Very
And
early.
yeah,
Yeah, it
this
was
was
like
like a month into, not even a
less.
month,
Yeah,
yeah,
not even a
like
month. It was like a two
two and a
weeks
half
or
weeks into dating.
yeah.
And I was like, okay, like, that's cool. This guy is just offering to help me. And then you
And
actually followed through with it and showed up and did it.
I didn't even realize this meant so much to her until years later. But she told me that it mattered, and so I think it's important. And you know, we're going to talk tonight a bit about like how marriage helps you understand gender, and how that's like one of the joys of life, I think. And like how I guess if you just like the experiences are different for each one of us, because I didn't even know that that was important to her, but I did. I guess it is not very. I don't want to say it's not common, but I had no ulterior agenda in going to help her paint, and I can say that honestly because she shared a room with another girl in a Christian sorority, and so like nothing was going down except painting, for sure. And I just showed up to paint. Like I didn't show up to like Netflix and chill or paint and chill. It was like just to paint. But I think that is um just to speak on gender a bit, like it's very important that as a man you display competence in a relationship. Like people like to talk about money all the time, but money is not the thing that is money is a proxy for competence, but it's not the same thing as competence. And women want somebody who is able to like be there for them and help help them and accomplish their goals and be competent. And it's not just money. Money helps in the beginning, get noticed and do things, but I actually don't think that money eventually is thought of as the same thing as competence by women. Otherwise, like, why are so many rich people getting divorced?
I don't know. I don't have an answer for
But
that.
like that's just my feeling on it. But um, uh, it's just important to like learn new skills and do nice things for each other. And this is like what I wanted to talk about with love is love is an action. And this is something that like our relationship has taught me more so than any other relationship than I've been in. In fact, like I'd say other relationships in my life prior to Paulina, which weren't many, but like I had a couple longer relationships. They confused me about what love was because we place so much on this in our dating environment where it's like, oh, did he or she say I love you yet? And like, but then people just go and you can answer anybody.
Oh no, I was just gonna.
Yeah, go for it. But uh, we say things, we expect and want people to say I love you and all this stuff, and I don't think that this is actually an ever present like part of dating in or part of relationships. I think it's a new phenomenon based on books and movies and shows and radio shows and everything, the media basically needing to convey that two people are committed to each other in just a short period of time, like an hour episode of a show or something. But if you come home every day, like I came home yesterday and she had made dinner for us and she had done a bunch of grocery shopping, and that I appreciate tremendously, and I had brought her flowers. And like this, if you saw somebody's life and they never said I love you to each other, but they just did nice things for each other every day and they were committed to each other every day, you would know that they loved each other. But that is to love each other, but you don't need to say it. It's just because of movies. I think that we've been taught this. Do you think that that's the
Well,
case?
yes and no. I also believe in like the five love languages. If you Google the five love languages, there's a quiz you can take to find out your like top two or three. But essentially, it's acts of service, physical touch, quality time, words of affirmation, and gifts. And some people do really like hearing words of affirmation.
Yeah,
And so I feel like
but it's not a
those people.
feeling. Like love isn't a feeling, like
No.
would you say? But it's
No,
like
but
there
I
because
do.
all of those are like things you do for each other. Like you touch somebody or you say nice things for them or you do
Yeah,
things
those are
for
not
them.
all feelings. Those are actions that can come from a feeling,
Yeah, and or
but
they
they don't
can
have
generate
to.
feelings too.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
yeah,
generate
it
feelings.
goes both ways. But yeah, I
Yeah.
forgot what I was gonna
I
say.
mean, I think that I like that love languages thing too because it does show that it's an action that you do. Like even if it's saying things, like that's an action. And but I but you don't see this in relationships, I don't think, unless you are dating for the sake of building a life together, where you have like a goal of constructing a life. Because if you don't, and you're just dating for convenience, or not convenience, for enjoyment, for your own personal like enjoyment, then and you're and like I will just say, yeah, there's people who are honest with each other, more committed to each other than people who are dishonest with each other. But until you are truly until you are trying to get engaged, really, I don't think that you are committed because you're basically committed until it's inconvenient. And that's we don't think about that like that, but as soon as it's not a relationship that's fun anymore for you, or then you're gonna leave, and you can say, "Oh, I love them," but like, did you real like? If what does that mean really? Is that it? Why is that a valuable thing to say if you're just gonna leave them as soon as it's inconvenient? You can be like, "Well, I truly did love them, but it just wasn't meant to be anymore," and it's like that just shows that it demeans the meaning of the word love, even though at the same time we place it on this weird pedestal of idol worship, I think, honestly. But it was because with her, I had an intention, and not necessarily from the beginning, because I had a feeling I was going to marry her, but I didn't know that I was going to. Yeah, the chair is like old, sorry. But but before we like really committed to trying to figure out if we were each other's person if we were going to basically get married, she said to me that she asked me what my intentions were and why I date. She was like, "Why do you want to date? And what are your intentions?" And I was told her that I was open to, the marriage at that point, and which was true, but it wasn't like what I was seeking. I don't know if I told her that at the time, but like I was honest that I was open to it with her, which was a first in my life. But what like you also said to me what you wanted from a spouse. Do you want to talk about that? Like, or potential spouse?
Well, I said that I wanted somebody who would be the spiritual leader of our family, among typical qualities like
Protector, provider.
loving,
Yeah.
kind,
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
yeah, so like but that thing that was different was asking me what my intentions were,
Yeah.
which made me be intentional. And um and I don't think I would have been as intentional. It would have taken me a long time if she hadn't like required it of me. And I also wouldn't necessarily have put so much into like trying to understand each other, because we certainly had a lot to figure out. I mean, I was a self-described atheist at the time, but I had a renewed moral like awakening regarding politics, and I thought I was able to answer her for the first time that I wanted to be a spiritual leader, even though I wasn't a theist, but I was concerned with morals for the first time really in my life, like seriously. And um and it just helped me see past some big like dogmas that I had. Like once I asked her, and I've talked about this on here, because she was a Christian, and like not just said Christian and came from a Christian family and went to church, like, but like a theist, a truth, like a real theist. And I asked her, "Do you believe in evolution, or do you believe in that God created the universe?" And because I believed in evolution at the time, and I still do, and I, have worked with biologists and stuff, so I couldn't really like write off what I had seen in that field. But she said to me, do you remember what you said?
Yeah, I said I believe in both.
Yeah, she said, "I believe in both." And I was like, I've never heard anybody say that before. It was always presented as like either this or that. And sometimes it takes a pretty girl to get you to realize things that you never realized. But not just that, but like somebody that you want to also reconcile your life with, I guess. Not just a pretty girl, but also a pretty girl. But um, but yeah, like it's amazing the things that you learn when you set a goal. And if there is no goal other than enjoyment, you will not learn about each other at all. Like today, men will say things like women are crazy, and girls say things like, men are just, I don't know what you guys say, crazy, probably. You think we're just crazy. Like
I don't know if I want to say it.
not you, but like a lot of women probably think men make no
No,
sense.
yeah,
I've
I
heard
wouldn't say
people,
crazy, or people would say like stupid or
yeah,
just like
make no sense.
not just oblivious, like just yeah,
Oblivious.
just
Okay, oblivious is
oblivious.
a good one though, because I've talked on here that women, or the feminine perspective is a reactive perspective. It is aware of others but not self naturally, but the active or masculine perspective is aware of self but not others. And if you never unite your lives, you're never going to realize your blind spots. And I definitely will say that, living together, moving in together, trying to like have united goals help me realize my blind spots and my talents as a man, like not just um uh my weaknesses, but also my, I don't even want to say weaknesses because they're not weaknesses. Like I don't think men and women have gender specific weaknesses. They have blind spots. But that's for the sake of like creating meaning in each other. So, but anyways, um you want to talk about any of these things, or do you want me to just keep going for a bit?
No.
Okay.
No, I want people to ask us questions
Okay, yes, ask
in the
questions.
chat. But let's
Kirk
see.
showed
Should
up
we
acting
talk?
like we didn't notice. Which life is suffering, and that's it. That's not what I said. Tyler Goldstein. That's not what I said. Life is not just suffering, and that's it. Life is amazing. I think I'm never bored, and like I'm definitely even less bored. I'm more entertained now, even with you, than I ever have been. Like, we definitely don't have a boring life. She sometimes wants it to be like more exciting in certain ways, like going and traveling more. But we do travel a lot. Like, you do like
Yeah,
to
but not
travel.
just traveling, like activities. We tend to be homebodies,
Yeah, we are a bit of
so
homebodies, but we
yeah,
also
we could
do a
do
lot.
more.
Yeah, we
We could
also
do
do.
more.
Okay, fair enough.
We could
We could do
do
more.
more.
Well, I'll make some
Do you want to
activities
talk
this
about
weekend.
the first one?
Yeah. So, um, I will say that we have not been married for decades. Um, and a successful marriage is obviously one that lasts until death do you part. That is what is important. And about marriage is that it is committed till that, really. And I think that is what is defining of it. Once I was in a Discord and I was talking about how I have this view that I think only married people should vote, and not. We can talk about it later, maybe. But it's a very unique idea. I've never heard anybody say that but me. But people freaked out when they heard me say it, of course, and they were like, "But marriage is different for everybody. Like, who are you to even define marriage?" I don't think marriage is defined by any of us. I think it is something that's pretty. It is a unique relationship in that it is committed for life, and that it is two different people coming together in completely different ways. Um, but but I will say that in the time that we have been married, I have learned quite a bit, and I would say that like there's this assumption that marriage is really hard. When people say to you, like, if you ask somebody what is marriage like, it's like, oh, people say marriage is, it's really hard, but it's worth it. It's really hard though. And they'll just kind of emphasize that. And I feel like that's just kind of like when people say like by default that they're really busy, but like it's like, oh, how have you been? I'm so busy, so busy. It's like almost postury, but I don't think marriage is really hard, actually. Do you think marriage is really hard?
No.
I don't. I think life is not easy usually, or at least often it is. Sometimes it gets
Yeah.
very hard, but marriage is not
Or people will
very
say
hard.
like, "Oh, it's a lot of work," like ball and chain, those kind
Yeah.
of statements, and that has not been true in my experience. I mean, it does take work or effort because you get out of it, what you put into it.
Hmm.
But um yeah, I just I question when people say that it's it's like
A lot of
really
work.
hard
Yeah.
and like just like are you I don't know.
I feel like there's lots of problems that could be causing people to say
Yeah.
that, but I agree. Like, I don't think marriage is really hard. I think being single is way more hard. I mean, I would not want to not be married ever again. Like there's nothing that would make it worth it to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, it just sounds so stressful and exhausting. You have to go and, you know, constantly trying to figure out somebody
Going on dates.
going on dates. Like that's not a that's that I'm not saying there's nothing fun about that, but like it is exhausting, and ultimately if there is no eventual resolution where you stop doing that, like what is the point other than you are using each other for just basically for like each other's physical pleasure, I would say, like for the most, and any maybe emotional like fulfillment as well.
This is just like
date serial dating, or
Yeah.
just like dating without intentions, I guess. You are just using each other, whatever way you're using each other. It doesn't matter. Maybe it's money, maybe it's sex, maybe it's like I don't know, like I don't know, warmth at night. Whatever it is. But like, it's not, you're just using each other. You're not committing to each other, and you're not viewing like the other person's like sentient humanity, I guess you could say, like their soul. That's what you really like come to see when you commit. And it's also different because, you know, I've said this before, I can't have a bad day, and if you have a bad day, I can't have a good day. If I have a bad day, she can't have a good day. That doesn't mean that just because I had a good day means she's going to have a good day. But if she has a bad day, then I cannot have a good day. So like try and work that one out in your head. But there's a directionality to that is important to understand, is that you're emotionally entangled. Would you say that like do you think that you could have
definitely.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, we're definitely like they say when you get married, you become one, you know, and like your feelings affect me, my feelings affect you, which is the way it's supposed to be. I would be concerned if my feelings did not affect you.
Yeah, that's true.
But
yeah, I mean, and I will say this, as much as like I was committed to, you know, I wanted to figure out whether or not we should get married, and we dated for way too long, but it was because I had to figure out God and religion and things. It wasn't because I had to figure out if she was going to be a good partner.
You told me that you wanted to marry me like a year in, like just under a year of being together.
Yeah. And I knew immediately too that I could.
June 2016.
Okay, so she knows. But it's I will say that like, if even then though, even though I was that committed, I could have a good day and you have a bad day.
Yeah, at that point.
Yeah. Like until we moved in together, I think that it was impossible. Yeah. It was possible for us to have, we were not as emotionally entangled before we moved in together. Would you say that that's the case?
Yeah,
not saying we weren't as emotionally connected. I'm just saying like, or committed, but I could have a bad day and you could have a good day still.
Yeah. I mean, we first moved in together in 2019. So like it'll be 3 years at the end of this year, because it was at the end of the year almost.
Yeah.
But honestly, that period of my life was not ideal. So
yeah,
we had a roommate.
I mean, the world went into lockdown. There was lots of things about that time that were just like challenging times. But we moved in together just shortly before getting engaged.
Yeah, a few months. Well, no. Well, a few months before COVID. We moved in together like 5 months before COVID, and then we got engaged August of the following year. So that's like 10 months later.
Okay, but we like still in my head that's pretty short. But I was looking for a ring before we moved in together. I had already decided to propose. But I would not have moved in with her if I wasn't going to get engaged, at least. Like if I wasn't planning on marrying her already, I was not going to move in. And I would definitely suggest do not do that. There's a lot of just like, I don't know. If you're not committed to marrying the person, then don't move in together. I would say the ideal is probably to wait until after you get married. You wanted to do that. I said engaged, and we actually ended up moving in together shortly before 10 months before getting engaged. But that was because of external circumstances. We both like lost where we were living due to lots of reasons. Um, and so like we had to find a place quick, and it was like simultaneous. And so we ended up moving in together kind of out of just like panic and necessity, not really because we chose it at the time, I would say.
Yeah.
But it worked out eventually.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to mention, right? That's on your mind?
No, I'm just like looking at our list of things.
What do you think?
Nobody's asked us any questions.
Yeah, nobody's
What's
asked any
going on? That's the question.
What's up, memes of destruction? We are talking about love, marriage, and life.
Yeah.
In
Any
general.
questions about anything?
Yeah, yes.
About us? It doesn't
matter.
Anything.
Anything. Just
AMA.
Put it in the chat. Do you want to talk about what you learned from marriage? Like, what was the greatest surprise to you, and like what's your favorite and worst part of like, not worst, but what's the most challenging part of getting married? That's a better question.
Getting married or being married?
Being
Because those
married.
are two. Okay, so
Getting married, we'll talk about later. That's not as important.
yeah. So best thing is, I guess, just like waking up next to you every day and just like having you as my partner and my support system, and I don't know, just like not being alone. I know that sounds weird, but I'm
No,
just
it doesn't.
grateful to have you in my life and to know, just I don't know, just to feel your unconditional love.
Yeah.
That I would say is the best part, and to know that like we are on this journey of life together and we've chosen that.
Yeah. I've heard Jordan Peterson talk about this stuff too a bit, and uh like we have experienced people like I talk about how our marriage is pretty great, and people will tell me online, "Oh, you're just still in the honeymoon phase." I don't think that there is actually such a thing as a honeymoon phase after the honeymoon. Like there's just the honeymoon, but like life doesn't stop for anything. We have experienced losses
Well,
in like go on.
so first of all, we were together 7 years to the day when we got married, and it's going on 8 years this year.
Yeah.
So like I think
We don't have a
I
honeymoon
yeah, I
phase.
think we passed that phase a long time ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, to your point, yeah, our first 2 years, almost year and a half of marriage so far has definitely not been smooth sailing in terms of life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it has not. I've talked about things on here before, but we have had losses of family members and you know, jobs and and you know, working on growing our family, and that has been a challenge in certain ways, and I've talked about that on here. And like I remember once we've talked about this, I've talked about this a bit on here, but we had like I don't know if you want to talk about it or not, but I'll just mention it vaguely. But we had like a terrible family loss, and like
Yeah.
we also had serious responsibilities that week, like that we could not like postpone. And I don't remember exactly what they were, but they were not like just plans that we made that we had to keep. Like we had serious things that we had to finish up, or else like I don't know what I can't remember what it was, but like it was very important.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and we had just I think we had some kind of job instability, and like it was just hard. But we had this loss, and like it was shocking, obviously, and it was not expected. And then we cried about it for a long time, for a few hours, and like kind of were in shock. And then we just looked at each other and we were like, what do we do now? And I remember we were just like, we have to get back to work, basically. Like we have to continue doing what we were doing. And it was not a situation that you would expect that to have be the case, because you see things, it's just in your head. You have this concept of what happens when you lose, an immediate family member, and that is not how it plays out in life. But
especially when it's completely
unexpected.
Sudden, unexpected.
Yeah.
The memes of distraction says, "Sorry for your loss. Thank you."
Yeah. Thank you. But like, we just literally looked at each other and we're like, we have to keep going with what we were doing. But that moment taught me so much about life, because you just, I'll never forget it. And you have to keep going, and there's no such thing as stability. You have to create stability, and the only real way that you can create stability that transcends the instabilities is by committing to another person. And like, we've definitely had some serious instability, like career wise, and like family wise, and just in every way that you could have instability other than each other. We have been,
that's true.
The two of us have been, since getting married, like very stable, and prior to that.
Yeah.
But I would say that is something that I think is very important when you're looking for a partner, is you have to be able to be yourself around them, and you have to be able to solve problems with them, and you have to be stable with each other. It cannot be this like, oh, we're just fire and passion, and we have I don't know, we're just that type of person that it's like, no, that you're probably making excuses in that relationship. but you need stability for each other, because life is unstable. You cannot have your relationship be the source of your instability.
Yeah, that's just a recipe for problems. I feel like.
Yeah, it won't last at all.
Yeah.
So,
what should we talk about now? Do we have questions? Let's see in the chat. I don't see anything new.
That's fine. But we have a list, so that's fine. So marriage advice. Do you have any, like, do you want to talk about like that one?
I'll leave that one to you,
okay.
But I don't know. I guess my advice would be just really respect the other person for who they are. And like, I never got around to answering the hardest thing about marriage, which is that the person is not you. And that it's like, sometimes you have to take a step back and just remember, okay, they're a completely separate person with their own likes, dislikes, preferences, ways of being prior to being married, especially since we got married when I was 29 and you were 30 at that point, right? So we got married pretty late into adulthood, in the sense that, like,
I think that's late into adulthood. But for our
relatively speaking,
in today's times, it's not. But I would say that do you think people should definitely be trying to get married much earlier than we do today?
I do. I think that they shouldn't get married just for the sake of it. Mm-hmm. Like, it still needs to be a thoughtful, considered decision, mm-hmm. especially with their partner. I know multiple people who got married in their early 20s who got divorced shortly afterward. Yeah,
and we know people that were also in their early 20s and they have like children and their families are great, and their marriage is great.
Both ways. It's
not about age, it's about
intentions, the person and intentions. But I do think that as a society, like, we're slowly becoming aware of just how things in our environment are affecting our bodies, and health wise, I feel like there are a lot of things that women were told to do by just medical society that maybe were not the best thing. Kind of like people smoked for like years before.
They used to tell you to smoke to help with your health problems. They'd be like, smoke a pack of cigarettes if you have asthma, and like doctor recommended. But that, we realized that was bad idea. So what do you want to talk about any specifics?
Well, I'll just say, like, if you are married and you are thinking about starting a family, I would not postpone for the sake of just like not feeling ready if that's something that you know that you want, because time
Yeah.
is not on your side
Yeah.
in the sense that it might be like you just don't know what your journey is going to be like. Like I never could have expected that we would experience three pregnancy losses. Like
Yeah.
it's just
You don't know.
you just don't know.
You don't know.
So if that's something that you want, like don't wait,
Yeah.
because then you'll just have more time to figure things out. That's
Yeah.
my like.
Yeah. I mean, since you brought it up, like, I will say that that's definitely true. And I remember before we got married, like we were talking about when we wanted kids, and she had indicated that she wanted to like wait a little bit and like have time to be married and not have to worry about kids, and I was like, no, I think we're just gonna like not try not to have kids at all. Not We're not going to try not to have kids from the very beginning of marriage. And I would say that if you are, nobody's ready for anything that's new. Okay, so like even Eric Weinstein once said this in the very beginning of his geometric unity talk that he gave at Oxford. He said something like, when you are attempting to do something that truly novel, essentially, you are wholly unprepared for that which you are attempting to accomplish. And I don't remember if that was the exact quote, but it was basically that. And it doesn't have to be something that nobody else has done, but even if it's something that you've never done, you're not prepared. And preparedness, it goes about as far as like commitment, and that's about it. And I would say, and just like, I don't know, intentionality.
Yeah.
But if you're married, and there's no other health problems keeping you from having children, like you're ready.
Figure it out.
You're
You'll
ready
figure
for
it
kids.
out.
Yeah.
You'll do,
Yeah.
what it takes to figure it out.
Yeah. People will say things like, "Oh, I need to get more money before I get married," or "I need to get more money before we have kids." Like, what? Listen, like, you have no idea if you're going to lose your job. We've both lost jobs like multiple times since in the last, like, I don't know, 4 years or so. And COVID hit and everybody's job changed, or they lost their job, and it was very unstable time. And so like you have no idea. The purpose of marriage is to have a stability that you can count on through the instabilities that you of life. And
Yeah.
like we got, speaking to having kids, I agree with what she said. I think that we are been taught, we are not being told the right things about having kids. Like, when we have all this energy in our early 20s to like go out and drink and party and like, pull all-nighters and then go out for Thirsty Thursdays and Freaky Fridays and like then Saturday, parties, that's there for an evolutionary reason, and it is to help you stay up with screaming babies in the middle of the night. And like, you definitely get, like, not saying you can't have kids when you get older, but like, that is the biological ideal, is like that time. And I would not waste it on drinking poison. Even though I'm speaking from experience, I did waste it on drinking poison. I would say don't, if you have not gotten to that point yet.
Yeah.
But we got pregnant extremely early. I've talked about this on this channel, like wedding night early, like possibly. We don't know, but like that quick. And you think that, oh well, there you go, like we're now gonna have a kid, and it was. But then here we are, what, a year and a half later,
Almost two. I mean,
almost
it'll be 2
2 years.
years in July.
And like, you have some kind of complication or something, and you've just lost like a year of time.
Mm-hmm.
And because this is a process that takes a long time, it's and it only takes like one time of things going wrong for it to basically override like an entire year of time, because takes 9 months of successful cellular replication and God to make a baby.
I was gonna say something and I forgot.
That's okay, you can keep thinking about it. But
should we check in with the chat? Let's see. What are your favorite foods? Oh man.
Okay, wait, I want to talk about this real quick. I'm not saying that people don't enjoy tobacco. I've enjoyed tobacco, but I try not to. Like, I'll smoke a cigar every now and then, like once a year probably, and she doesn't like it, so I don't really very much. But it's also bad for you. But what's funny is our first date, I messaged her and I was like, we should get, dinner, or I think I asked her to coffee. I said,
Yeah,
let's
you
get
did.
coffee. And she was like, I don't like coffee. And I was like, okay, how about ice cream? And she was like, I don't like ice cream. And I was like, okay, how about dinner? And she was like, okay, what are you thinking? And I was like, how about sushi? And she was like, I don't like sushi. So I basically just picked a restaurant that had everything. But
Yeah.
so I mean, we have plenty of like foods that we
Well,
like, but you can talk about your
I
favorite foods.
I am obsessed with Italy, so I love like Italian food, pizza, pasta, carbs,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
That whole cuisine.
Yeah.
Um,
You
what
are
else?
you
What
are
else do I
obsessed with
like?
Italy. I don't know. I love steak.
Yeah, you do love
She's
steak.
not a huge
And you like
steak.
sushi.
I do like sushi. You
Milkshakes.
started to like sushi. Yeah, I love
Yeah, I
milkshakes and
have.
ice cream. Um, that's like our favorite foods. But
Yeah.
we eat like our diet is my diet has changed and yours really hasn't. I've kind of adjusted to yours because you basically kept kosher without like
Oh yeah, this is a good
intentionally.
thing to talk about.
So I am Jewish, but I came from a secular family that didn't keep any of the rules. My favorite foods were ham and cheeseburgers and shrimp and crab. And then she did not eat any of that
Yeah, no.
because
I didn't.
your family. You want to talk about like
Well, my mom my mom had never eaten those foods growing up, and so it just wasn't like
it's
a
not
part
part of
of
your
our
mom's culture.
culture. Yeah, so it just wasn't a part of my culture.
Her mom
So,
is Igbo from
mhm,
Nigeria, which
mhm,
is very similar in their like customs to
mhm.
Jews.
Yeah, so I didn't grow up eating bacon, pork, not really much shellfish.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
And
I
then
didn't.
I became a theist and gave up all my favorite food, except ice cream and milkshakes.
Yeah, but you don't
But
eat it with beef anymore.
no, I
No
don't.
beef and cheese.
No beef and cheese, but
Yeah, no cheeseburgers.
no cheeseburgers. But and she definitely encouraged me when I like decided I was gonna like try and become like you've
More
encouraged
observant.
all of my observances as far as like morality goes, regardless of where it comes from. I would say for the most part, and we try and reinforce that in each other.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that that's important is like you want a partner that will inspire you to be your best self. And you know it's tough because I feel like women these days are like when it comes to like spiritual leadership, men also have to have some type of like spiritual like constraints on them if they expect women to follow them. Like you can't if you're unconstrained and you're like I want to be the leader, but women are like but why? To what? Like you have to have
Yeah.
kind of like a moral framework that's objective, I think.
Yeah.
And um
Should we give an
yeah.
example of like what that looks like?
Yeah,
I mean, I
you
can
you can
share
talk
just
about it.
like pointing us back to scripture when, going through challenging times, especially
Yeah.
lately. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and just
We do believe in scripture, the two of us, so like that is part of our it's like a very important part of our marriage, I will say. Like I don't talk about it too much with regards to my theory because it's not part of my theory really. My theory came about very differently, and I wouldn't get into scripture until I was a very confident theist, in which that came from my work with sentient singularity theory. So, or that evolved into sentient singularity theory. So, um, I that was like a new thing for me that I had to like get into, and now I definitely do lead in that. But that's kind of been organic. But yeah, it definitely
yeah.
has helped us like with our lives and just like giving us direction regardless of, you might not believe in it, but I will just say there's wisdom in those books that is transcends like an individual human, and regardless of where it came from, and it's definitely been a helpful thing in getting us like reoriented if we're, lost in something. But
Oh, you want to see this list?
yeah, let me look at the list. What else is there? Together yet separate. That's what you said, that like the most challenging part about marriage is like that we're two separate people, but
Yeah.
you are one too, like, and that is it's tough because it's like marriage is the thing that solves the many and the one problem. Like, you're multiple plus, but you're also one, and you see it like when you're in it.
Yeah. Yeah, because like there are some things like what just like there are some things that you like that I don't.
She's a saint, guys. I'm
No,
just gonna
I'm
say this.
not.
We're in a room. There's like a zoo of reptiles behind the camera.
That's not even the problem.
I know. Like there. I would say like the biggest problem in our marriage is definitely my dog's shedding. Like, my dog sheds a lot, and I will admit.
Yeah,
that.
if you have any vacuum recommendations, please leave them in the chat
Yeah.
for my sanity.
Yeah, I have a German Shepherd mix, so she sheds a lot.
But yeah, just like little things, or like there are things that I feel like there are things that I do that you probably wouldn't want to do sometimes, like getting up early, or I don't know.
Well, I'm getting up early. I have to get up very early for my job.
Well, like, I don't know.
But yeah, I do like to like take a nap and stuff. I don't know. Women are just much better. I feel like men are just designed to be like the lion and the pride of like a lion of lions. You have like the male lion, and he just kind of lays around, like, and then all of a sudden he needs to fight till the death for war against another, I don't know, pride, and like he can get up and do that and solve problems and then go back to taking a nap. Whereas like women, they get up early in the morning. It's like much more so like, and once they're up, they're like up, and they have this energy that is probably for the sake of just taking care of people or others, where, you're like a lioness and you have to go and you have to hunt for food. And it's not like hunting for food like humans hunting for food, where it's like usually men, when it's actual hunting. It's for them, hunting a gazelle is like going to Ralph's. Like, it's like going to the supermarket. So that's like usually falls on you, is like,
Yeah.
But I would say part of what I would, as good like marriage advice, is dividing responsibilities. Would you agree that it's good to not be like, you do the dishes half the time and I do the dishes half the time, and instead it's my job to basically do the dishes, it's your job to like get the groceries, it's my job to vacuum, it's yours to mop, like that.
Yeah, I think that's been good for us, and it's not like I did the dishes this morning too.
Yeah.
So it's not like only one person ever
Yeah,
does
and sometimes
this.
I'll cook, and
Yeah.
but it's like because it's because she likes it. It's not because like it's the norm for us.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you'll vacuum, but
Yeah, normally,
normally it's me.
I'm at my
With
end.
Yeah. But
Anyways.
I would definitely say that dividing responsibilities is a key thing. I think that it's such a simple one, but it's actually like very important, because it helps show each other why you need each other. Otherwise, it's like, well, I can do the dishes and I can do this, and why can't I just cook or something? And it's like, guys, me going to the grocery store and getting food is either I'm getting like two things, like milk and like, I don't know, like something else, and like, or I am going to go there and it's going to be chaos. I'm going to grab everything that looks good. But she has like the ability to like plan it and knows what we need, and she knows what she's going to make and what you need to buy in order to make it. And it's just like, I don't have that ability. I'm not very good at that kind of thing. I really appreciate it. It makes you appreciate your spouse to see them do things that are like different
Than what you would do.
Yeah, than what you would do, or what you
that's
can't,
true.
or what you're good at. I'm not saying you can't do it, but like what
Yeah,
you're
or
good
what
at.
you don't want to do.
Yeah, or what you don't want to do. There's plenty of things I don't want to do.
Should we check in
Yeah.
and see?
Which scripture, Christian or Talmudic? We study. Do you want to talk about it, or do you want me to just say it? We study.
I mean,
I mean, I read the Quran even sometimes. She doesn't, but like I read the New Testament and the Old Testament, and we both also study Tanya, which is every week, which is Jewish philosophy that is, rabbinic Jewish philosophy. It's like Hasidic, ultra Orthodox, like rabbinic Jewish philosophy.
Yeah.
It's not the Talmud, but it's,
But
it's similar-ish.
when I speak about it, I'm more referencing like the Bible, so the Old and New Testament.
Yeah, and I say the Bible too. Like, but Tanya is like different. That's kind of just for us to like. It's very, very. It's probably the most advanced philosophy I've ever seen in my life. It's just, and it's really tough to learn because it has so many weird terms they're speaking in a language that you just don't know until you've like had to learn it. But it's philosophical masterpiece for sure. I would say, but it's about understanding yourself more than it is about like, it's not the same as the Bible, but we both look at the Old and, well, I don't want to say the Old and New Testament, but like we look at the Bible, including the New Testament, because I don't think it's like an old and a new. It's like, it's just like, but that's what we call it, but yeah, but yeah, we look at everything, and I don't think that, to the question about like the Talmud, like people have all kinds of things that they say about the Talmud, and it's not usually accurate. It's just a commentary on the Bible, and that doesn't mean it's right. Like there's like 10 different opinions given for everything. It's just like a record of conversations, but it's it's not in contrast, but it's also not. It's not the Bible. It's not scripture. It's just a record of courtroom arguments almost, basically. But yeah, I think that has definitely helped us. That was like kind of engaging each other's like spiritual traditions. We keep the Sabbath.
Oh yeah.
We light candles on Friday nights. We don't engage with social media after that.
Mostly.
I will look sometimes, but I do not like. I don't post
do
anything. I don't post or anything like that, and I won't respond to you usually. I'll like respond to my family, but that's pretty much it. But we stay in and we just relax and with each other, and we say prayers, and that's what we do. Like it's very important, I think, part of our week. It's just like it's good because it like we have so much going on in our lives that like to just stop and for a night and a day basically just be focused on each other and not what's going on outside is really important. Like we don't really follow the news too much like intentionally, but we definitely avoid it on the Sabbath. We don't really like engage with it at all.
Yeah.
So keeping the Sabbath holy is topic on its own. Yeah, it's very important. Sabbath's my favorite day of the week. It's definitely my favorite day of the week. For sure. I look forward to it all week. Thanks for doing this. See. This has been great so far. I'm glad.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, it's helping. Let's pull up the list again. So
what we do together versus separately. What did you mean? Like,
yeah, like what do you? When we're two different people merging together and like versus like you're gonna have like there's things that I do that is mainly me, and there's things that she does that's mainly her, but we also support each other in those things. Like she comes with me to the reptile show once a year, and
sometimes twice now.
But that's like 4 hours of just looking at reptiles, and so I appreciate it very much. But that hobby is pretty much my own.
Yeah. You take care of them all exclusively.
Yeah, she doesn't handle that at all, really. But, I mean, you've definitely helped when I needed. But, and you have your hobbies.
Yeah, I like yoga and Pilates. What else? I feel like lately I have not been doing any of my hobbies, but
no, that's not true. You've been like doing yoga and Pilates.
Yeah, every exercise hobbies, but not like creative hobbies. Like
but there's
like painting and photography. And
Yeah.
stuff. I need more hobbies. So leave suggestions in the chat.
I actually think we both have a lot of hobbies. Like,
I like reading.
yeah, she likes to read. She reads tons of books all the time. I don't do that very much.
Just
So,
going.
yeah, I just listen to things. I
Yeah,
will
you
listen
listen
to
to stuff.
audiobooks sometimes, but I don't like sit and read like a physical book like she does.
Yeah.
Um,
Or Kindle app.
or Kindle app. Like, I don't do that. And then like you paint, and there's paintings on our walls that she's painted, and there's photography that she's done. We both were
Yeah,
are
like we
photographers.
shared, that was like his
Yep.
opening line to me, or
Yeah, yeah. So,
pickup line, that's the word.
yep. And like definitely photography has united us. That's one thing we did together.
Hmm.
That's a hobby that we've done together. It kind
Yeah.
of started our relationship,
Hmm.
and then I took her camping for the first time,
Hmm.
like early on in our relationship, and she was pretty frightened a little bit,
Well, because you wanted
nervous.
to climb up the boulders
Yeah, we were in Joshua
in the middle
Tree.
of the night. And I was like,
I'm a desert rat. I'm used to like chasing rattlesnakes up a mountainside in the middle of the night, but she's not. But we did this, and I appreciate always that you've like trusted me in those things that are uncomfortable for you, like that. Like you climbed the boulders with me.
yeah,
You
I
know,
did.
you went into the cave with me in Hawaii and in Arizona, and like she's gone snake hunting with me. But I remember I like took a photo that was like awesome with a flash on like this Joshua tree in the middle of the night, and then you were like, okay, now I just want to take photos. So, but we did that together, and
Yeah, we did it for work
we
together
did it
too.
for work.
We were wedding photographers for many years.
Yeah, we were full-time wedding photographers for
Yeah, I
years.
hired you.
She hired me. So that's one thing I
No,
want to talk about is like, I will say again is that like there's this narrative that guys need to make more money than women, and like we've alternated in our incomes. Like I mean, pretty much always it's like me, then you, then me, then you, then me, then you, and like hopefully it continues to go up. But like we alternate, with every changing of job or every couple years in like who's making more money. And it never caused any problems on whether or not like you didn't never need me to be making more money, but it does matter that you can be a provider especially if you're a guy. I do think that is important to like just be competent, and so that she's comfortable that you're going to be able to take care of her and any like kids that you have, like in case of instabilities. But I got laid off because my first job in LA, this was many years ago, and early on in our dating, the company went under and shut down and laid basically everybody off. And I had nothing to do for income, so I started working for her, and she had started her own wedding photography business, and I worked for her. She was my boss for like, I don't
What,
know,
a couple of years?
a couple
Because
years.
you were
Probably.
my second shooter.
Yeah.
For like, yeah, at least. I mean,
Almost.
but you weren't working like exclusively
Yeah.
with me during that time, but we did work together, like essentially.
Every time you worked, I worked with
Yeah,
you, basically.
yeah, you were my second photographer.
Yeah, and we were very good at like we were a very good team. And there was when you're working together, there's stress. And I think that if you're married, you are working together. You might not work in the same office, but like you are working together.
Yeah, you're on the same team.
You're on the same team. You have the same financial obligations. Like what impacts one of you financially absolutely impacts the other completely. Like there's no separation of that. And so you're always working together. But I don't think that you do what you have to do to like survive. You can't be like, I don't think that it's about income size or anything like that with gender or anything like that. But
Yeah.
that's a false like thing. But let me see here. Yoga is good hobby for both sexes. I'm trying to do a little bit of yoga, but I do martial arts. That's like my thing normally.
Yeah, you gotta.
I know I got to do more, but had a job change schedule, and like it's been kind of have had less time lately, but I will get back into it.
Yeah.
But hi. I did take you golfing. I
Oh
took you
yeah,
golfing.
yeah. Golfing is like your new
Yeah.
exercise hobby.
I will say I thought I'd be terrible at golf. Just like I am actually like pretty decent at golf for somebody who's not, very practiced. Like it comes pretty naturally to me. But she is very good at golf. Like I'm amazed at how good at golf she is.
Me too.
I know you should be. Like I was amazed that I was as good as I was, but she is naturally even better at golf than I am. And I'm not saying like it'll become your hobby. It's up to you. But like you are very good at golf.
Thank you.
You're welcome. But uh, field guides and encyclopedias are good at uniting the genders. Okay, like going out into the field and like looking for like field guides, like for like going and looking for wildlife and stuff like that. And she's done that with me. Like we've been bird watching, and sometimes like she just decides to start reading and like sit under a tree or like next to the car and like read while I'm chasing lizards. But like you were there and you support me, and I appreciate that. Like it's just important. But yeah, I mean, I think that it's just one of those things is like, love is, as I said at the beginning of this, love is a choice. We watch these shows, like the two of us, and this so this is mainly her that like motivates this, obviously, but we'll watch like marriage reality shows.
Yeah, like
not The Bachelor.
Love is Blind, Married at First Sight.
Yeah.
Usually those two, and then we'll just like have commentary.
Yeah, we'll have commentary on it.
We should episode.
We should film.
Yeah, we're gonna have to film just us watching an episode once and just put it on.
Guys, those
YouTube.
shows are actually fascinating. I don't watch The Bachelor or anything like that. Like
I don't anymore.
Yeah,
either.
And I never was into like you have shows that you watch that are just you, pretty much.
Yeah, I like Real Housewives.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
I don't watch that. But I will watch like Married at First Sight with her, and it is a fascinating show, and she will watch like things with me that she doesn't like and that are like a bit violent for her, and she'll have to like close her eyes, but if there's like awkwardness, like social awkwardness on like reality shows, I literally have to close my eyes. Like I can't look. I'm like I can't even look at this, and she's just wondering why like I can't handle it, but we're just different, and you see that in those kinds of things. But those shows, there's a lot of talk about like what is love, and like is love truly blind, is like the whole thing on that show. And like I would say love is not blind at all, like, and I don't mean like that in far as like looks go, but love is intentional. Like you do it intentionally. It's not this thing that just happens. It's this thing that you do. And, in my vows, I said, I promise to love you even in those very, very rare moments that I don't like you. And our wedding is on this channel.
Yeah.
If you want to watch it.
You go back.
You can watch it and listen to our vows and everything. We streamed it live, but there are times where like I'm frustrated and I'll get angry and I'll be like, I don't know, like I'll just be like ranting or, I'll be angry. I'll be pissed off at whatever it is. And then I will try to always make sure to like go to her and be like, I'm not upset with you. And like, thank you for, helping me with this. Or like, I did it. I feel like, a couple times this week. I had like tech problems last week too, and I was like screaming about it. I was very angry, and I did make a point to be like, I appreciate your help, and like just know that I'm not I'm not upset with you. Like you have to communicate these things, and when we are you can't blame each other really for like serious, like, you can't blame each other when you're in a marriage too much. Like you hold each other accountable, but like that's different than blaming. Like we had a conversation today about like something, and it was just, we kind of just made sure to let each other know that like we're in this, and like we're gonna figure this out, and like, you know, this is a problem that we have to solve, and we're gonna solve it. And there, and it's, you know, you're still united in even fixing each other's mistakes, or overcoming, like, I don't know, whatever it is. Like if
Yeah,
I make a
you're a
mistake,
team.
yeah, you're a team. If I do something and there's consequences for it, like you have to, like, she's been there with me through, you know, those things in my life, and I've been there for with her for those things, and you have to do that. And so it is, but it is a choice. Like there, those moments are scary sometimes, or they're upsetting and angering and disappointing, or like, but you have to choose to love each other in that moment,
Mm-hmm.
and not feel affection, because that's not what it's about, but like being like, okay, how are we going to together, like, make a plan to fix this problem? And um that like I said, that's a very important, like, thing.
Mm-hmm.
um so we've had a lot of those instances even early on where I was like, we solved just a lot of problems together that
Mm-hmm.
would have been otherwise, like, not instances of, like, opportunities for you know, developing a relationship by solving problems with, in most people's relationships, they would be like bad memories of, you know, I don't know, not just problems, bad days, I guess, I don't know.
Yeah.
But hopefully you aren't watching the new MILF Manor or whatever it's
No.
called. No, we're not.
No.
I thought Jersey Shore was rock bottom. Oh, Jersey Shore is not rock bottom.
No, yeah.
We've seen some previews for some shows that I'm just amazed that
Yeah. We don't.
they're terrible. Like,
Yeah.
I'm amazed at how bad the shows are. But there some of those shows about marriage, not The Bachelor, but like um the, like, Married at First Sight
Mm-hmm.
show, and Love is
Love is
Blind.
Blind.
Those are interesting. I think they're fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
The UFO news stuff is interesting though. Yeah, it is. We saw a UFO, you and I.
Yeah.
I filmed it. She was driving, and
Yeah, and unidentified.
this is one of those things I will say that, like, she has zero interest in, and she puts up with, and I appreciate it, like, very much. She puts up with my interest and fascination, because even though she saw, like, a craft, you know,
But
in the
wasn't I
sky.
driving?
Yeah,
I
you
was
were driving,
driving,
so
so I wasn't.
she couldn't look at it like I could, but I was filming it. But like, it was, and she's not as, like, into planes and stuff as I am.
Yeah,
So
no,
like,
definitely not.
yeah, I'm constantly, every night I'm like watching something on planes and aerospace engineering or something, and she's just like, can you please lower that? But I, like, you watched Project Blue Book with me, that
Yeah,
show,
yeah.
which is good.
Mhm.
That was a good show.
Yeah.
But you would never have chosen to watch that on your own.
No.
And I would have never chosen to watch, like, Married at First Sight on my own either. But we both have enjoyed, like, those things.
Each other's interests, yeah.
Yeah. So you
Is there
definitely
anything
um
on here you want to cover?
do you want to talk about, like, our engagement and or anything about it? I can talk about it a bit.
Yeah, I feel like maybe you should talk about that.
Oh yeah, because I was more like,
Yeah.
okay. This is a kind of a big thing, but like, I noticed, if you're a guy, this is mainly for you to know. And like, women should know this too. And I'm just gonna, like, say this. If I don't think men are if you're in an Orthodox community and you're not having sex before marriage, like, you are motivated to get married. But if you are in a secular community and you are not following those, like, abstentions, you're not motivated as a man to get married naturally. You're just, you don't, it's hard to realize because you're not together in, you know, you're not united yet, like, that you're wasting the person's time, that's hurting them, and they might not even be aware of, like, how much time you're wasting of theirs. And I would say that it does fall on the man to get, like, to propose marriage, pretty much universally, like, and so you do have to, I think, you have to step it up and not wait till you're feeling FOMO of
All your friends
all your
getting
friends getting
married.
married. That's like the only thing that causes men to get married these days, which is like you're like in your 30s and you're like, oh, my friends are starting to get married. Maybe I should get married. But don't do that. Know that like you should be focused on her, and she is the reason why you would get married, not because your friends are getting married. And I realized this, that I was having no motivation to get married immediately, that even though I wanted to marry her and I knew it, like that wasn't like I wasn't unmotivated, but I just didn't have that biological drive that causes like Orthodox people to get married. And but I had to like force myself to be like, okay, you have to like step on the gas on this because it is what is good. And if you want to like love her, then you have to make the choice to do this. And I very quickly then went out and like, I figured out what kind of ring she wanted, and I asked her, and
Yeah.
like I also will say like getting engaged should not be a surprise, really. Like it was a surprise, maybe it's a surprise on like what day you ask, but it should not be a surprise to either person that you're getting engaged. I went to her multiple times before over the years and like talked to her, and I was like, listen, if I'm not gonna buy you a ring until you tell me like that you're definitely gonna say yes. And then she did, tell me that, and before
You proposed.
before I proposed. And I asked multiple times. I was like, just so like you're sure, and I'm sure this is the biggest decision of your life. It's literally the biggest decision of your life. I don't like when people say, "Oh, it's so hard," because that's wrong. If you've chosen well, that's not the case. But what is true is it is absolutely the biggest decision of your life who you marry. And like make sure that it's not a surprise for anybody. Like this should be a very intentional thing that both of you are doing. You've both agreed to. It's a very consent is a very important part of marriage. You can't be like, oh, I'm just going to propose to you in front of a baseball stadium and hopefully you're like, you don't want to make me feel bad, so you say yes. And like just talk to the person about it. But then I did plan like how I did it. We went to the rose garden, and I had a friend waiting there, and I was to take photos hiding, and I was like super awkward because I had never been there before, and I had to like find out the lake that I wanted to like propose at. But we got to the lake and it was a mud puddle, and I was like, that is not what I want to do. So I had to find another spot, and I was just dragging her around. She knew it was our anniversary, and you knew I had the ring.
Yeah. Yeah.
But she hadn't seen
I
it.
knew that he had purchased the ring like a couple months.
You
Did you tell me when you did it?
Yeah, I told
Yeah,
you.
yeah, because you worked with a
Yeah.
designer or jeweler. So.
Yeah. And I told her I'm going to buy the ring, and I had found a diamond and like stuff. And then also we were under COVID lockdown, and it had to be delivered to our place.
Yeah.
And she has like an art photography business.
I sell prints. My print shop is called Paulina Studio, but that's where I sell my photography. So
shameless plug.
Well, no, but long story short, I am constantly shipping and receiving packages. So.
Yeah. And I had to tell her this, you can't get this package. It's like she knew what it was because it was like I had to sign for it.
Yeah.
And I told her that I bought it.
But I didn't see it until you proposed.
Yeah, she didn't see it until I proposed. And like I did go to your parents before and told them that I was going to propose, and that was interesting. But I like, if you want parents to take you seriously, have the ring already bought, which I did, by the way. Like, and just watch the tone change when you pull out the ring and be like, okay, I'm actually serious about this. But yeah, I mean, it is the biggest decision of your life. That's a fact. And so I'm not trying to like downplay it. And
yeah. We have a question in the chat.
Can either of you tell us about synchronicities that have occurred between each other? I mean, that is a lot, but do you want to talk about some? Like,
I don't know what to think about. Like,
you want to hear a weird synchronicity? So, Paulina wanted to get married in Italy,
oh yeah.
and I was like, no. But
No, well, I wanted to. I was actually planning
yeah,
an
she was.
Italian wedding. Like, I reached out to vendors. I had started collecting quotes.
Yeah, that's a lot of money and time, and
Are you sharing this?
yeah, I'm gonna share this.
Oh,
So, we got instead married in Temecula because it had like a nice vibe and it was close and it was much more doable and financially and logistically than like flying people to
Tuscany.
Italy.
But stop laughing. We're gonna go. We're gonna
We'll go. We'll
But-
go.
but like,
We do. I'm not like trying to downplay her dreams. Guys, I have a theory of everything that I have like put forth, and she puts up with that. And like, I have huge goals and that are not normal. And
so do I.
and so do you. And that's why I appreciate like that you in a lot of ways. And like, I think that we work is because we both have extraordinary goals. Like, I will admit fully, like, our goals are extraordinary.
Yeah.
And sometimes those goals don't occur and sometimes you have to postpone them and stuff, but I've always appreciated your goals. I'm not trying to like downplay
No, I
them.
know. But the wedding location where we ended up getting married was about 2 hours away from where we live. So it was far enough to like still kind of feel like destination, but it was still
Or different.
relatively close.
Yeah, it
Well,
was
well, because I wanted a destination wedding.
yeah.
So
Women
this still was destination for a lot of our guests because most of our friends moved away from LA.
Yeah. I will just say this because like if you're a man, you're like, let's just be practical about this, and you're with weddings, there's nothing that's like gonna men and women's differences and values are going to come out in weddings more obviously than anywhere else, but it's really for them to, as long as you get the things you need from it, then like you should let them have what they want from it. But we put one constraint on us that really just, and that was fine, which was that we had to be able to pay for everything in full. And like, if we were able to pay for it in full, then we would do it.
Without taking on like
Debt.
Yep.
Yeah.
That for us was
That was
a requirement.
That was a
And
requirement.
It was nice because then after our wedding, like we weren't still paying bills from the wedding. We
had everything paid, and we could just enjoy being married.
Yeah, but it took a lot of like strategic planning to get there and like
Same thing with an engagement ring, like
sacrifices.
yeah, exactly. And I will say same thing with like an engagement ring. When people say I don't have the money to get married, that's not true. That doesn't mean you can't be like that. It doesn't take money to get married or to have the wedding that you want. But we had
Very resourceful.
we were very resourceful, but we had a beautiful wedding, and two really, because we had one traditional Nigerian wedding
that my family hosted the night before.
And then we had like our Western ceremony, Judeo-Christian ceremony, I guess.
Should we share the synchronicity?
Yeah, so this is the synchronicity. We didn't know that this was going to happen. Well, first of all, first synchronicity, when I'm at the day before, when I was at the altar
for our rehearsal,
I caught a snake at the altar. So that's pretty cool. But then we took pictures of just like the hills around where we got married.
Yeah.
And when we didn't even think anything of it other than this is nice. But when Paulina once went to Tuscany, she took photos and she also got like a magnet that's on our fridge.
Yeah.
And this is the magnet compared to where we got married. And
the view.
We didn't plan this. Okay.
Yeah. Well, because I bought that magnet in 2018.
Yeah. Look at that.
So the top is like a photo of the magnet on our fridge.
That's a photo of the magnet on our fridge.
And
then that's a photo.
The view from where we got married.
Yeah, the view from where we got married. And we didn't see this till after we got married. And we were like, wow, look at that.
Yeah, it's really cool because like you can see like the Spanish style, even the arches in the front of each building, and like the trees,
like
the hill. So that was really cool. Honestly, it felt like a good sign.
Yeah.
And I think that was also part of why I was like excited about that venue too,
Yeah.
because
But it
we had
was
gone to see it.
unconscious.
Yeah, yeah, no, but I mean, like
Yeah.
after the fact, because I think I like we got home and
You
I don't know.
realized
I think I realized like pretty
after we
soon
got home.
after. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like after we got home after the wedding
Well, no, from
or after we
from
saw it.
yeah, from when we were looking at venues.
Okay. Yeah.
But anyways,
But it
should we bring up?
yeah. We're back to,
Yeah,
oh
but
yeah,
we can't see the
the
chat.
chat. Okay. But yeah, it's crazy
Oh,
synchronicity.
thanks. It's a literal dreamscape. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. I will admit.
Oh, is it still sharing? It's still
No,
sharing.
no, no. It's just
Oh, it's
lagging.
delayed.
It's just delayed. So whatever. Hopefully you. Okay. Ever use Universal Sandbox? What is Universal Sandbox? Do you know? I don't know what Universal Sandbox is. But you can specify. But we haven't used it because we don't know
Yeah.
what it is.
Um,
Have you guys watched the recent video where the bear attacks and eats the moose during the
No.
wedding? No.
definitely
What?
not.
I'm definitely gonna watch that
No, I'm
after this.
definitely not.
That's pretty amazing. That's a crazy thing to have happen at a wedding. But I will say, like, when we were wedding photographers, we heard of even crazier things
Yeah.
happening that, you know. But an Italian wedding, there are only like 5 herps there. Always best to do a local wedding because then friends and family can show up at both sides, at least usually. Yeah, that was mainly why
Yeah,
we just realized we wanted to make it, fairly easy for people because you want to have the people
Yeah.
there that you
and
want.
budget.
And budget, but also like
Yeah,
it's there. You want the people there that are, support you and are going to support your union, and
yeah.
and we do lean
Yeah.
on those people quite a
And
bit that were there.
once you've been married, like you learn this, but you never forget the people who show up for you on one of the most important days of your life. And like you just don't. And it's
Yeah.
just something that you don't know
when
until you know, and you don't value it until it happens. And
Yeah, you realize that it's like that's never going to happen again. It was a crazy day. I've talked about this once on here. I had like this revelation about like the priorities of my life at the day we got married, and we were taking photos in the road with the photographer,
yeah.
and there would like be a car that would drive by through the road every like 5 minutes. It was pretty,
Yeah.
country road.
Yeah, it's like a 2-lane,
Yeah. And I was like really hyper concerned that about like your safety, like when we were in the road. And I realized that like just to say, like, when I was a wedding photographer, there was somebody who I knew who was a videographer, and they were a videographer at a wedding, and there was a bunch of rain, and this is terrible, but a tree fell on the mother of the bride and killed the mother of the bride on the wedding day. And I wasn't there, but like, I'll never forget that. It was just kind of in the wedding community, like it was pretty known that had happened, and it was just a crazy thing. And on our wedding day, I was just thinking about like, her safety with the road and the cars, and I realized that like, if one of my parents were to get hit by a car that day, it would have been absolutely horrible. It would have ruined the day for sure, obviously, completely. But the trajectory of my life would remain the same, actually. We would continue to be married. We would continue to try and pursue our goals. And like, we would have the life that we were already planning on having. But if she had been hit by a car, or if I had been hit by a car, like, it would radically have altered the trajectory of our life completely, like the rest of our lives. And it really hit me that day that like why you prioritize, it says in the Bible, man will leave his family and cling to his wife, and like you all of a sudden become each other's priority, and you realize like the gravity of the situation when you're thinking about that, and it really hit me.
Yeah.
Okay, so would you call that realization a great reset? It was a great reset, yes.
Should we ask any more questions?
Any final questions before we call it?
Anything else you want to share?
I mean, I will just say, like, I talk about marriage a lot on here because my metaphysics work really does point to it being like a universal growth structure, and or it is a foundational structure of our reality. It's not just made up by society and written into some book. It was written into some book and is used by society because it's a foundational structure. And you really realize that over these years. And it was our marriage is the best thing in my life. Absolutely. Like, you are the most important thing to me. And
Same.
And I think that it's just, I've talked about a lot of benefits on here, in every way, like, that I won't get into now, but I've talked about, like, just everything that we've talked about tonight. I've talked about, like, intimacy and how that's much better in marriage, and allow is for just like things that you can't have in any other in relationship. And I think that it's important that we as like a society just start celebrating this a lot more, and than just like Instagram photos and likes and things like that of I don't know, like fake romance. It's really the best thing that has ever happened to me. And I don't know what I would do without, like, my wife.
Yeah, I try not to think about
Yeah.
it.
I mean, there is this idea that you have to give up yourself this is the final thing I think I want to end on, is like, people say things like jokes all the time. It's like, oh, just got married, old ball and chain, like, now your life's going to be boring and never going to be sexy again. And it's never going to, you're going to have to give up on all your dreams. Guys, like, she has extreme, like, goals, and extraordinary goals. I have extraordinary goals. They're not goals that statistically, like, you would expect to accomplish. Some of them are just, like, mundane, but I haven't given up any of those goals, and she hasn't given up any of her goals. And if anything, we have definitely helped each other get closer to accomplishing those goals. And so, when you get married, you're not giving up anything. And if you are, then you've chosen the wrong person. Like, you need somebody who you can be like, I'm going to go and just, like, read or watch, like, plane videos by myself for a bit or something, if that's what you need. Like, you need somebody that accepts you, and
yeah, that's true.
and that will support you as long as you support each other. And I haven't lost anything. I've gained everything. And I just think that that's important to, like, say.
Yeah,
Love you. We say it to each other, but I'm conflicted about saying that. But I can say that to her because I act that every day,
Yes,
and I've
that's
committed
true.
to a
That's
life with
true.
her. It's not, our relationship is not one of convenience. It is one that is, like, it's true
Conscious,
love. It's true intentional love. So
Yeah.
how many pairs of animals are you keeping right now? Too many to count. I have lots of geckos.
Yeah.
How would you? Okay, I think that's it.
Yeah.
But we appreciate everybody here. If you have one final question, get it in, like, right now. Otherwise, please hit the like button and
Subscribe if you
Subscribe.
haven't already.
Yep.
We really appreciate your support.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, yeah,
like,
'cause
yeah,
your
it's-
channel, like,
it
you know,
impacts. There's no success that is my success and not her success, and vice versa. Like, if she succeeds, it's a success that I get to share as well. And, like, that's true. So you support each
your
other.
happiness, your joy.
Yeah, your joy. We went to a friend of ours who I actually met through this channel once, who's now become a good friend of mine. And when I was talking about marriage, he had mentioned that I had helped. I'm not going to take credit because it's on him. He made that choice, so he deserves that credit. But he had just mentioned that I had helped inspire him to get married, and that was probably the most rewarding reaction I've ever gotten from this. And we went to his wedding and we saw that, and it was it was such a beautiful thing. And his dad made a speech at the wedding that said, I'm not going to wish you happiness because that's, fleeting feeling. But I'm going to wish you joy. And it stuck. It was more involved than that, but it stuck with me. It was really brilliant. And I'll never forget that to this day. Is like, that's the point of, what you can experience together is like joy, which sometimes just comes from overcoming hardship too. Like joy is, it's deeper than just like happiness. So, anyways, with that, peace, everybody. And we appreciate it. Please hit the like button. Share this with anybody that you think will find it interesting. Also, if you do have any questions that we didn't get to, please leave them in the comments below, and I will address them on either I'll comment back or I will, say it in a future stream or something like that. But I hope you had a good Valentine's Day, no matter what you did. And if you have any questions, let me know in any way. So thank you all.
Thanks for having me.
Yep. So thank you guys.
Bye.
Peace.